My name is Sergio, I am 24 years old and I come from Spain. I was originally born in Madrid. So my memories growing up in Spain were pretty normal, from a very normal family. I come from a medium-class family, especially when I was a kid, 5, 6 years old. My parents were very normal, very liberal. They wouldn't push us to go to church or to believe in anything. I've got a brother and I have a sister as well. So I would say it was a very normal childhood, playing games and seeing family and playing football especially. I love football, and I played football since I was 7 years old until I was 19 years old. So it was more involved in school, games, being home, spending time with family. It was quite nice. One of my strongest memories when I was a kid was trying to figure out my existence. Why was I there, and why did I look the way I looked? And I would question people like, do you believe in God? Don't you believe in God? All my friends, all my family members, I always had that thing in me to ask people, do you believe in God yourself? And if they didn't, I would get upset myself. I was like, why don't you believe in God? I had a very tiny impression of God. I never thought God was Jesus, like many Christian families believe, or the whole religion. So I would always ask my friends and everybody else about the existence of God, even though I didn't know more myself. It was one of the main questions I would always ask. I went to church when I was a kid, and I was baptized, and I did all the churches, all the communities, and all the procedures. I did my communion. I went to Sunday school, but that wasn't compulsory. I chose to do it because it was more of a cultural thing. So I was like, might as well do it and meet more people there. So I would say that from my group of friends, my generation itself, God didn't play a good role, didn't play a role at all in our lives. It was more of me getting into it from a Christian point of view. I would say atheism has become more predominant in the last decade for the new generations, because Spain, I would say, it's a beautiful country, beautiful culture, but then people are very much divided with political views, with religion, with many things. So if you do come from a religious background, you're a bit of a weirdo in the community nowadays, because religious people wouldn't do the practices that normal people are doing, such as drinking, going out partying, things like that. So if you don't do that, and you don't belong to the new movements of liberalism and going out and stuff, you don't belong, let's put it that way. So when I turned 13 years old and I moved to secondary school, religion completely disappeared from our lives, because we chose not to undergo religious classes anymore. We chose not to engage with religious practices either. So I would say that from that time, God literally disappeared from my life. The exposure of Islam is very bad. Islam is portrayed as a very bad thing, very negative. Muslims are not welcome. Islam is a very bad religion. Therefore, I had a very bad opinion for Islam and for Muslims. As a kid, there were minor Muslim communities within the town, within the city. But as time went by, more people came in the country, especially from Morocco. Morocco is a Muslim country. So I would say that we tend to reject them and sometimes, unfortunately, bully them in the school especially, because when a Moroccan person comes in, they can't speak Spanish properly, they can't write properly, and they cannot engage with us. So we, unfortunately, and I include myself, we chose to put them outside the picture, bully them, not talk to them, and think they were bad people. I heard that Muslims were in Spain for a long period of time, but in the schools they tend to remove that part from the history, and they start from how America was found, from the Spanish and the Queen, the King of Spain. So that Islamic, all the time the Muslims were there, that is removed, so you don't get to know that. So I had an idea of Al-Andalus, who discovered Madrid. Madrid was actually discovered by a Muslim person. Once I discovered the true Islamic life in Spain for 800 years, I figured that whatever I didn't learn, I should have learned it before. Because I was so amazed in the life, how they lived, how they treated people, how they protected people, the Jewish and the Christians, they all lived in a community. That is a beautiful example of a nation. And that was so surprising and so fulfilling in my heart, that the Muslims, now me being a Muslim, I'm part of it. Knowing that they would protect the people, they would fight for the rights, they would have, as we call now, human rights. You know, that was so impressive and so amazing. So I was 19 years old when I decided to move to the UK. I was in a very bad stage of my life. I belonged to certain groups that I should have not belonged. I belonged to hooligan organizations from, for football, just to support football teams. I got engaged in fascist and Nazi communities. I didn't want to belong, but when you get in touch with these hooligans, eventually you end up being with them. I never got violent with anybody, but I found myself hanging out, traveling with people that would actually be violent towards others. I belonged to groups online where they would ask us to go and hunt people as well. I never wanted to do it, but I would understand the way why they would do it. I was very racist. I would say I was a nationalist, even though I actually never left Spain even to travel. So I always remained over there. And that was something that hurt me for a long time, because I created this hatred within myself to hate others, especially the ones who don't think the way I think. And that was, I would say, the biggest mistake in my life. Hating others without any reason, especially hating Muslims, knowing what the media was saying about them, what the people I was surrounded by, what they would say about Muslims. So they would say, we will hunt them, we will go after them, we will hurt them. I never did it myself, but that was a part of my life that I asked for forgiveness every day. I would just remove it. I don't want to hear about it anymore. So I decided to move away from there, because that was just hurting me. It was just creating this hatred in my heart, where I would just not care about people, not care about my own family. I would just care about myself, my own being, just being myself, just having fun and being taken care of by others. So I decided to leave everything and start a new life. So I chose the UK because I could learn English, I could find a job, everything was easy, I had some money. So I just bought a ticket and I flew to the UK. Because I was so tired of my life, I was so hurt of my life, I actually bought the ticket. I didn't even have a house, I didn't even have a job, I didn't know anybody. I just flew to Portsmouth, to London. I arrived there at 9 p.m. and I was wondering, where am I going to sleep today? And I think about it as a sign of, leaving the bad parts of my life, just moving away from it. So eventually things worked out for me. I found a house, and that house was the reason why today I'm a Muslim. Alhamdulillah. So when I found this amazing house, I just found it online. I wrote down families to take care of me, or houses, rooms available. So I found this Muslim guy. And I was like, oh, this looks a bit dodgy. I don't want to live with Muslims. That was my only option. So I messaged him, he messaged back, and eventually I moved in the house. I arrived at the house, and the guy owned 2 houses. So both the houses were together. And I found myself living with 9 Arabs from Kuwait. So after, let's say, 10 years hating Muslims and Arabs, Moroccans, I found myself living with them. So that was a shock. That was, what is this? Like, what am I doing here? So obviously I kept my hatred away, because I was like, this is a new life I'm starting. I cannot hate people because of my own perspectives or my own opinion. So I just moved in on my own room. I was on my own. I would do my own shopping. After a couple of days, they offered me to go out with them and have food with them. And ever since that happened, they actually took care of me the most, even more than my own family. They fed me, they took care of me, they listened to me, they spent time with me. They knew I was a bit broke, I didn't have money. They would pay for my stuff. So that was like, after a week of living with them, my previous hate was, alhamdulillah, removed completely. I was like, I've been so wrong for my entire life that now I'm looking into life from a different point of view. My hatred was completely removed, alhamdulillah. I was so grateful for what they did for me. But that is not the end of the story. The guy who messaged me the first time was the landlord. Surprisingly, the landlord was also Muslim from Pakistan. So he took some interest in me because he knew I looked like a good guy. So he started to ask me questions about God, about religion. So at the time, my concept of God had gone already because of my previous years. So we would have chats every night, even until 6 a.m., about God, about different religions, Islam, Christianity especially, because I come from a Christian background. He was a Muslim. So after a few months, all these misconceptions were gone. No hatred, no doubts, no anything. I asked about Ramadan, why Muslims don't drink alcohol, why Muslims don't eat pork. All these questions that I couldn't understand before were answered by this particular man. So after a few months, I was pretty interested in Islam. I was like, this sounds like a logical thing, So my landlord asked me to move with him to his house to know more about Islam. Because living with the guys, eventually they were my age, but they had to do some uni things and going out, learning English and stuff, so I couldn't focus completely on Islam. So he took that chance to teach me. So I moved in with him, and I remember every day, wallahi, learning about Islam. Sometimes it got too much because I still had that defensive attitude from being a Christian. I moved back to Spain to finish a course I had to do with sports and exercise science. And then I had this amazing chance, alhamdulillah, to join university here in the UK. So when I thought everything was finished and I wouldn't see this man again or I wouldn't learn more about Islam, I moved back. Again, another sign, I moved the first time, now I'm back in my house in Spain, and then again, another chance to go back to the UK and learn more about Islam. I joined the uni. I studied sports and exercise science for 2.5 years actually. And prior, during, and after this time, I would still learn about Islam. I would watch speakers. I would speak about it with my friend every day. And when his birthday came up, I promised I will become a Muslim, inshallah. For your birthday, it was like a birthday present, more of it, So I told him, inshallah. I would say inshallah. I remember me saying inshallah, even if I wasn't a Muslim, because that sounded so nice for me. That fulfilled my heart, saying it. I said, I will eventually become a Muslim. So he was like, okay, fair enough. He never pushed it. He never told me I had to do it. So as things moved on, maybe 6-7 months went by, and I had to do some exams, university exams. I was a bit stressed. I was a bit tired with assessments and everything. So I needed some help. So I was praying on my own, just please God, help me because I need help. Eventually I passed everything, alhamdulillah. But at the time I was studying, I also wondered, if I was to become a Muslim, how does that work? Do I have to undergo any kind of ritual? Do I have to do anything? But that was at the back of my mind. I never searched for it. I did hear something about Shahada, but I never knew what that meant or anything. So I was at home and I was reading my notes and I was studying. I was, doing my uni work. And I was a bit tired, so let's have a break. And I took the phone, I got on YouTube, first video, wallahi, how to become a Muslim. I was like, how is this possible? You know, I just had it in the back of my mind, and now it's coming up. So I pressed it, and there was an Arab who was a Christian who just became reverted to Islam, surprisingly. I was like, let's have a look at the video. So the guy at the beginning of the video said, this video is going to be emotional. I didn't believe it. I was like, okay, I had this arrogance in me. So the guy went through his story, through his journey and everything, and then he said, I will actually take the Shahada in the video, in front of everybody. I was like, okay, so this is the thing called Shahada, so let's see what it is. So when he said the Shahada, I cried out. Wallahi, I started crying. I heard the words in Arabic and I cried. And I was like, yeah, actually, it was very emotional. I stopped the video and I told myself, I am becoming a Muslim now. I'm not delaying it. I'm not gonna wait, because I knew it made sense. It made sense for me, but I still had that arrogance before, you know, because, you know, maybe some things didn't suit me as a person. But when I heard the Shahada entirely, I was like, this is it. I never heard it before. I called my friend and I said, please set things up. I'm becoming a Muslim today. Because he had many houses, so I was in another house doing my uni work, and he was in his house. So he said, let me actually make a few calls, and then you can come by and you can do it. So I went to his house and I took my Shahada in front of him. So he was my witness and Allah was my witness. That was the most beautiful moment of my life, hearing the Shahada and taking the Shahada. I always had this bad impression of Arabic because of how, you know, Moroccans would speak, because I hated them. So I hated Arabic. But when I heard those words, I was like, I love this language. I love it, and I love Islam, and I love Muslims, and I love everybody. So everything, it was like the burden I had on my shoulders took off, literally. It was off. So after I took my Shahada, I had to go back to Spain after my exams. It was before Ramadan, actually. So I fasted for the first time, but I didn't pray because I didn't know how to pray. So my friend would pray, but he wouldn't fast because of medical conditions. He couldn't fast, unfortunately, but may Allah reward him. So he taught me how to pray slightly, like the movements and stuff, but I couldn't memorize it, you know. It was, you know, the first thing I had to do, which is praying. I put it aside and I started to watch speakers, how to debate people, because I was like, if this could be removed from me, it could be removed from anybody else. And I wanted to remove it myself. That was more of an ego thing that unfortunately I had, to think if that was gone from me, I could actually do dawah and remove it from people. Even if they don't become Muslim, but at least that hatred will be removed, inshallah. That was, in a way, it was good because I learned a lot, but I wasn't practicing the main pillar, one of the main pillars, which is Salah. So I moved back to Spain for the summer because Ramadan was until June. So after a couple of days, I moved to Spain for the summer. But no one knew I was a Muslim. No one knew it. And I didn't want to tell anybody because I knew how the society is back there. So I remember my mom cooking pork and stuff. I remember me going into the kitchen and seeing the pork. I was like, oh my God, I can't do this. I can't do it. Please, Allah, please help me. I can't do this. And I would get so angry, so agitated. Mom, I'm not going to eat this. And she would wonder, like, what's your problem? Like, you've eaten this all your life. What's your problem today? So I would just go on my own, drive somewhere else and eat food, you know? So after a couple of weeks, my mom was by the fridge. I will never forget this. She was by the fridge and I opened the fridge and I saw pork everywhere. I was like, Mom, you need to clean this up, okay? This is not good. Well, I'm paraphrasing it. And then she said, well, have you become a Muslim now? And I said, yeah, I have. She was like, really? I said, yeah, I have. It was like it came out of me, you know. I'm not gonna lie. If she's asked me, why would I lie to her? So she took it all right. She was all right with it because she has met my friend. He came to Spain a couple of times, so they knew him. They knew he was a Muslim. So that was fine. My mom knew, that's it. So after my undergrad, when I finished in Portsmouth, I was eager to move on to a higher degree, which is a master's degree. So I found this master's in Newcastle, the one I'm doing today. And that was mainly the only option I had. And I wanted to change because I was there for 4 years. So I told myself, let's move somewhere else, do a new degree, meet new people, now as a Muslim, and inshallah I'll be fine. So I applied for Northumbria University. I got accepted, alhamdulillah, a few days afterwards, and I moved here to Newcastle. When I arrived in Newcastle, unfortunately I wasn't practicing as much. I was moving, looking into my master's degree, trying to find a job. So my obligations as a Muslim were not met, unfortunately. So for a few months, I was very sad that I couldn't fulfill my obligations, especially Salah, because I looked into how to pray online videos, but that wasn't enough. I couldn't memorize it, and I was very, very frustrated. So I called my friend and I asked him, please, I need guidance. I need to pray. I need to pray 5 times per day. And he said, well, go to the masjid, speak to someone, and they will be able to help you, inshallah. So I came on a Friday for Jummah, and after the prayer, I spoke to Muhammad ibn Hanbal. He took me into the office. I met you, and I met other brothers, and they got me in touch with IDC. And after a few days, I met Richard at the center, and well, we had a good conversation about me as a Muslim, his journey, why he all this stuff. And he invited me to come for a class after a couple of days. So I was like, yeah, indeed, why not? It'll be nice to meet other brothers and to know more about Islam. So I came to the class. I think I was the second person to be there. And he was like, well, I've got this for you because you've asked me for help on how to pray. This is for you. I was like, okay, let's see how this looks like. So it was a prayer mat with Surah Al-Fatiha and all the prayer. And I was like, oh, this is amazing. I went home, I started praying 4 or 5 days. The whole prayer was memorized, alhamdulillah. And I started praying 5 times per day, and I do my best every day to pray 5 times per day to please our Creator. And I couldn't be more grateful. I couldn't be more grateful to be as welcomed as I was by the brothers, by Richard, by everybody else there. How I was helped here at the mosque. Everyone took interest, to help me out. That was a sign of brotherhood, something I never had back in Spain, because people unfortunately care more about themselves than about community, and that is a shame because families are not united. They only care about money. They care about their own ambitions, and unfortunately this is what we need to fix, and this is what I'm doing now as a member of my family. My parents might not be Muslims, my sister and my brother might not be, but ever since I became a Muslim, I'm actually much closer to them, and that is a gift from Allah. So for someone who is looking into Islam, I would say take it, go for it, don't delay it, trust me. You can ask me, you can ask anybody else. If you have an interest, a genuine interest, go for it, do not worry, because everything afterwards will be much better than what you thought before. Go for it, you will get help, and that will be the best decision of your life. An advice for someone who is Islamophobic or who belongs to a hooligan group, for these kind of people I would say that you are praising something that doesn't benefit you at all. You should praise something that benefits you daily. So you're praising something like, as a hooligan, you go to a stadium, your team wins or loses. What is your benefit out of it? What do you gain out of that? Okay, you need to realize, first of all, why are you here? Where are you going? And who put you here? And then be grateful for what you have, like your life, your family, everything that happens daily. You should praise the thing or the one that benefits you. So first of all, travel. Meet other people, meet other cultures, meet other people from other religions. Travel as much as you can. Have an open mind. Read, watch. Okay, and put that hatred aside. Meet people from another point of view, because eventually you will never get away from your own thoughts. You need to get out of your comfort zone, and inshallah, God's willing, you will be able to find peace within yourself. Otherwise, you will die with this hatred, the hatred that has hurt you for your entire life. The biggest lesson I've learned for my life is to appreciate my life. Every day when I wake up in the morning, I say Alhamdulillah. Every time I eat, I drink, I breathe, I think Alhamdulillah, because that is a new gift that has been given to me by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Appreciating what I have, not worrying about minor things, knowing the purpose of my life. That is the main thing I've learned. Before, I wouldn't know why was I here, what was I doing. And from a human perspective, we know what, I'm sitting here in a chair. I know the purpose of this chair, but what's my purpose? I know the purpose of the camera, but what's my purpose, So we need to realize that everything has a purpose, but we don't focus on our own purpose, And our own purpose is to worship the Creator, the one that has given us everything from nothing, for free, If I was to give you £100, you would say thank you to me, wouldn't you? So for the one who's giving you more than that, something that is you can't calculate, it's something priceless, we don't say thank you to it. So I would say that every time you do something, you stop yourself and you say Alhamdulillah all the time.